Coming up on 5 Minute News. Trump disqualified from Maine presidential primary. Boebert switches congressional districts to avoid losing to a Democrat. And climate protesters take on cowards of U.S. politics. It's Friday, December 29. I'm Anthony Davis. Maine yesterday disqualified Donald Trump from the state ballot in next year's U.S. presidential primary election, becoming the second state to bar the disgraced former president for his role in the January 6, 2021 insurrection. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, a Democrat, concluded that Trump, the frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination, incited an insurrection when he spread false claims about voter fraud in the 2020 election, and then urged his supporters to march on the Capitol to stop lawmakers from certifying the vote. The U.S. Constitution does not tolerate an assault on the foundations of our government, Bellows wrote in a 34-page ruling. The decision can be appealed to a state superior court, and Bellows suspended her ruling until the court rules on the matter. Trump's campaign said it would quickly file an objection to the atrocious decision. Lawyers for Trump have disputed that he engaged in insurrection and argued that his remarks to supporters on the day of the 2021 riot were protected by his right to free speech. The decision came after a group of former Maine lawmakers said that Trump should be disqualified based on a provision of the U.S. Constitution that bars people from holding office if they engaged in insurrection or rebellion after previously swearing an oath to the United States. The ruling applies only to Maine's March primary election, but it could affect Trump's status for the November general election. The ruling likely will add to pressure on the U.S. Supreme Court to resolve questions about Trump's eligibility nationwide under the constitutional provision known as Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Republican Representative Lauren Boebert announced she is switching congressional districts, avoiding a likely rematch against a Democrat who has far outraised her and following an embarrassing moment of groping and vaping that shook even loyal supporters. In a Facebook video, Boebert announced she would enter the crowded Republican primary in retiring Representative Ken Buck's seat in the eastern side of the state, leaving the more competitive 3rd District seat she barely won last year and which she was in peril of losing next year as some in her party have soured on her controversial style. Boebert implied in the video that her departure from the district would help Republicans retain the seat, saying, "I will not allow dark money that is directed at destroying me personally to steal this seat. It's not fair to the 3rd District and the Conservatives there who have fought so hard for our victories." Boebert already faced a primary challenge in her district, as well as a general election face-off with Democrat Adam Fritsch, a former Aspen City Council member who came within a few hundred votes of beating her last year. A rematch was expected, with Fritsch raising at least $7.7 million to Boebert's $2.4 million. If Boebert wins the primary to succeed Buck, she will run in the state's most conservative district, which disgraced former President Trump won by about 20 percentage points in 2020, in contrast to his margin of about 10 percentage points in her district. A climate protest group backed by a collection of Hollywood filmmakers is preparing to take action against cowards and criminals of all political stripes as the 2024 election approaches. Climate Defiance, which disrupted events featuring a string of Biden administration officials this year and then targeted Darren Woods, CEO of ExxonMobil, in December, will consider protesting at events staged by both Democrats and Republicans on the campaign trail after concluding that its very disruptive action was bearing fruit. In an interview, Michael Greenberg, the group's co-founder, said it will also focus more and more on state-level demonstrations designed to deter policymakers from approving fossil fuel projects. Since demonstrating outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the spring, its activists have staged protests at events featuring a string of senior federal officials, including the Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg and the Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. Climate defiance has also interrupted 2 separate public appearances by the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. It is now recruiting for an organizing director to help coordinate disruptive, non-violent direct action to resist fossil fuel extraction, according to a job advertisement. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.